You have a whole banner of his face hanging over the Department of Justice, and you and everybody else walks under it. And you are acting like you're his current personal attorney.
Joining us now is Andrew Weissman, MS Now legal analyst and professor of practice at NYU's School of Law Center on the Administration of Criminal Law. He is also the author of the new best-selling book, Liar's Kingdom, How to Stop Trump's Deceit and Save America, which is now in stores. So, Andrew, so glad to have you here at the table. We have seen some protestations, not just from Democrats about this fund, but from Republicans as well. Ted Cruz, Mitch McConnell, amongst others, who have basically suggested that this is a misuse of taxpayer dollars from the judgment fund. I'm wondering, is there actually any criminal liability here for Todd Blanche, for anyone who actually disperses payments from this fund, taxpayer dollars, without Congress's assent?
So I divide this into sort of two issues. One issue is the actual creation of the fund, the idea that you are, quote unquote, settling a $10 billion claim for $1.776 billion. And the second is this disbursement. So there's sort of, let's separate those two. On the first one, the claim from the president, which is, oh, I could have even gotten more, is fairly laughable when you look at the filings in the Florida case where this case had been brought, where one of the filings was by former tax officials, including IRS commissioners, heads of the DOJ tax division, saying what the normal response is to a case like this. Step one, the case was filed by Donald Trump out of time. It had to have been brought within 2 years, and it wasn't. That means that the amount of money that Donald Trump was owed was zero. And, you know, I've said I don't do math in public, but I can say zero is less than 1.776. There were a whole series of other defenses. And the IRS currently asserts that with respect to every other case. So this is not something where it's like, oh, I had a very strong case, Donald Trump did. And so he is, like, out of the goodness of his heart, settling for, you know, a fraction, a healthy fraction. So that's sort of step one. And one way to look at this is because he is on both sides of the equation. As he himself has said, my view is it's to answer your question. It's a long way to get to the answer, which is what is the difference between this and just Donald Trump going into Fort Knox and taking the gold and using it for whatever purposes he wants? Or if he can do this, why not just bring another bogus lawsuit and just say that's the fig leaf for taking more money? That is theft.
But that's why I want to know, are there any consequences for the theft?
What I will say on that, obviously Congress can deal with this in a heartbeat. If you have the votes, Congress can put a stop to this. In terms of the criminal law, what I will say is thank you, Supreme Court of the United States. In Trump versus United States, when they granted presidential immunity, we would have to find in this situation that this was entirely personal on his part. Not a bad argument. If it can be argued that what he is doing is entirely personal, then that immunity decision is to the side. But that is, you know, you have to be able to show that. But then he would have liability, and anyone who was complicit would have liability. And in order to not be complicit, they would have to say, oh, no, this was a really good lawsuit. As a former prosecutor, there'd be ample facts to, let's just say, investigate that issue at the very least as to why this isn't, at the very least, a breach of your oath of office to represent the public. But if it can be a lot worse than that, which is if you are creating a bogus settlement fund, that is just theft of the public money.
You mentioned Congress. I want to play for you what Senator Ted Cruz said about his briefing with Todd Blanche. Take a listen to this.
There were fireworks at an epic level. And I got to say, it's one of the roughest meetings I've seen in my entire time in the Senate. There were a lot of Republican senators who were just pissed. There were multiple senators who were yelling at the Attorney General, and it was not calm, it was yelling. And they were saying, this feels like self-dealing.
So, I'm not one who has a lot of confidence in this particular Congress under Republican leadership, but the fact that Ted Cruz was describing this meeting with the Attorney General in those words, does that give you any sense of hope that perhaps Congress, maybe with some Republicans willing to break with the president and have the spine to say, hey, this is a bridge too far?
Well, so this is way outside of my lane because, I'm like I'm a legal analyst, so I don't know.
I guess maybe is it so legally egregious that you've had Ted Cruz come out and say this that it's hard to refute the legal